Having said that, now this is, again, Pro Football Focus. Biggest needs for all 32 NFL teams after free agency. So where we start. They say the Browns still defensive line and wide receiver. Browns defensive line has to get stronger on the interior. Tomlinson, Hill, and Hurst additions were needed, but Cleveland could continue to target the position in the draft. They also have to get a new receiver or two into their rotation from last year. Amari Cooper cannot carry this group alone. Yeah, I agree. I really like the signings of Hill and Hurst because they're guys that have played in the NFL. I know Hurst has been injured. But if you don't feel Tommy Togiai or Jordan Elliott or Perrion Winfrey is doing what you need him to do, now you've got guys that have played in the NFL. You don't have to go so young.
Yeah, and I mean, there's issues with those guys, right? I think injuries for both Hill and Hurst. But when they came out in the draft, they both had a lot of potential. And Hurst was a guy I liked. I think he slid in the draft for medical reasons, and then he's had different injuries when he's been in the league. Hill had a good start. I think it was 2020. Then tore his ACL, hasn't played a ton since then. But you're right. You just have to throw bodies at that position. And the bodies that were on that roster, on the Browns roster, weren't good enough. At least they weren't in 2022. Maybe they'll be better. You know, if you talk about Winfrey and Elliott and Togiai, maybe somebody steps up. But you needed reinforcements. You needed other options. And I think that's what Hurst and Hill provide. Having said that, I think you need to add more to the pile. I don't know if you need to add more in free agency. I think certainly in the draft, I would get at least one D-tackle, and maybe early in the draft, or as early as the Browns pick. I also think defensive end. I would not be done with it. You have Myles Garrett, you got Obo, and then you have Alex Wright and Isaiah Thomas. You know, two guys that didn't play particularly well as rookies. Now, you hope they get better, but that doesn't feel like enough, right? Winovich didn't do much, and then he signed elsewhere. Obviously, Clowney's gone. I think you need to add more bodies there, too. So it's inside and outside on the D-line. We've already talked about receiver. The only other spot that jumps out to me would be linebacker, like we talked about a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm with you. You know, last year the problem was they were looking for Jordan Elliott to step up or Winfrey to step in or Togi, and they didn't have a plan B. So these guys, you know, now maybe the young guys are plan B, but you have options, and that I think they went through last year at that interior defensive line, and Andrew Berry was like, we got to get us some options. And I'm not saying those are, you know, high-level options, but you have options.